Oh, right. I thought you might have
Oh,
seen it
I've
on.
started recording now, so let's talk about
I wasn't ready. I had wear my makeup,
it.
studio makeup, and that. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Walaikum assalam. So, what happened?
Ah,
Straight into
I.
it.
It's been a long time. I haven't angered the feminists in a long time. I just sent a tweet about an anecdotal story that I'd come across. I didn't realize it was just going to set people off. All I did was narrate the story
Yeah.
as it was told to me.
They killed the messenger as they do.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. What was the story? The story's a bit explicit. Let's read it, actually. Should just read it as I said it.
Okay.
Should read it as I said it. I mean, then again, anytime you may insult even a singular woman um,
Well,
for a
not even
crime.
woman, it's just like person on Twitter, right?
Yeah, but
It's Twitter Twitter's
it
known
makes
for
more
that, I
sense.
feel, right?
It's not called Twitter anymore, is it? It's called X, baby.
X. Actually, we should
I'll
talk
never
about
be
that
able
as
to.
well. Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that while I'm looking this up?
Okay, look it up. No, it's just that I thought like, Elon Musk was making a big mistake changing the whole name and the whole logo. And then I saw that he was saying that basically it's going in a whole new direction and that it's going to
Oh,
be,
right,
he's
yeah.
going to try and make it into like some sort of super app of apps with like, what is it,
Mm,
payments. So it's not just going to be the text based, there's going to be videos, live stream, payments. I don't know what else,
yeah.
some other features, Yanni. So I think it's trying to build, like they were saying, the WeChat of the Western world kind of thing.
What is WeChat? I don't know what
WeChat is
WeChat is.
in China, it's like what everyone has in China, and it's like a super app. So it's an app and it has apps within it. So imagine having your, I don't know, bank account has a mini app inside of an app, and they all can interact with each
Oh,
other. Or like imagine you had Uber Eats and Uber and what are the other ones there, bro? Deliveroo and Netflix and Amazon all in
Amazon.
one app.
Yeah.
Like they're all mini apps within an app.
Sounds like communism. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like some sort of monopoly or whatever. Yeah. So that's one. And then apparently Grab. Have you heard of Grab? It's Singapore based.
No, no, no,
Okay, I
no.
remember in Malaysia I was using Grab for taxis like instead of Uber, but apparently they did really well on the taxi side, and then they started like building out like an ecosystem, so it's not just their thing within Grab
Yeah.
app. There are other services you can use and stuff. So apparently that's what Elon Musk's trying to do with X, and it's like sounds like a very challenging thing to do, to be honest, especially considering no app has taken off like that in the West, even though people have tried, but it just hasn't happened, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's like he spent $40 billion on something, and that very thing that he spent $40 billion on, he's kind of like trying to. He's basically doing what he could have done, like if he started from scratch. I feel. I mean, he's
Mm.
got the users. Okay, he's got some users, but other than that, it's like
I just feel like Twitter had a lot of it had a what's the word? It had a brand base basically,
he
and
did, yeah.
it's not like he's changed it into a very definitive name. Calling it X is like a very risky hit or miss.
Very.
Like it's either going to be one of the most well-known things or it's just going to fall into obscurity. And I think it's more likely to fall into obscurity only because it's such a difficult name to say and use. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whilst Twitter had its own verbs, you tweeted, you retweeted, that everybody knew what that was.
Bro,
You know,
people would die for that kind of recognition that it becomes a verb. You know, how many companies would just love to have that, and he's just throwing it away.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And just him as, I mean, I used to really kind of admire his ambition and his outside of the box thinking when it came to Tesla
Yeah,
and even SpaceX.
yeah,
Things that he's built from the ground up. But everything about I don't say everything. Some things I liked about Twitter. I liked at least his pledge to get rid of a lot of the the political stuff. I like that he openly shared like some of the source code to see what is it that makes things go viral, what's in the code, what are those nitty gritty details. I liked, I think he part of the rollout of the edit feature where you could edit stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that was implemented after he came. Yeah,
I don't even mind the verification blue. I mean, the blue service, I was interested in it before it came with a verification mark,
yeah,
because I liked that you could edit stuff, and I thought Twitter needs to have
yeah.
a
That
paying
kind of makes
option
sense.
just for some extra kind of utility. Um,
I also
but
heard
yeah,
that
it's
he was like working on the advertising product because Twitter ads was known to be rubbish. But he
mm,
said I heard that he mentioned a few things that he thought was rubbish about it, and I heard that they were going to bring in like keyword based targeting. So like I guess if someone interacts with tweets of these kind of keyword, then you could target them. Like that would be really valuable. But I don't know. I don't think that's rolled out or anything.
well, they've even started paying users now based on ad
Yeah, I heard
revenue,
that.
giving them a share. Yeah, and they have to. It was originally like 50 million impressions per 3 months, and now it's gone down to 5 million, which is actually a lot more achievable in a 3 month period than
How
you
does it work though? Like,
think.
because if you see an ad between two tweets, then who gets the money?
I just think that they are the only way I can think it's working, because I had to think about this yesterday, is that they've got literally an income coming in of ad payments that the companies are paying them, and they're literally dividing that through a ratio of who's hit 5 million and how much they've hit. So I can imagine obviously the people that have had the most impressions, they get the biggest share of Twitter's monthly income that they get willing to give out, and then it goes smaller and smaller payouts to the rest. I don't think it's connected as much as we think.
Yeah, I
We're
get you.
probably assuming that it's like, okay, Muslim CEO, sorry, Muslim CEO has spent $100 on ads, and they appeared on Afi Tweet's thing, so directly that payment is
Mm,
going to be linked to. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think they
got
literally
you.
just probably fill it all together and just divvy it up based on people's
Okay, okay.
impressions.
It's a little bit like YouTube Premium, a little bit. Although YouTube Premium, you do get paid based on people watching your videos. But yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. It's like, who has that? TikTok maybe? They just
I'm not sure.
they have a big lump of money and they're like, we're giving it to people based on the views they get. It's not direct ad money. Yeah. So like that might encourage people to, put their best content on Twitter and stuff like that or on X. But
Yeah, it has changed the demographic a bit, I suppose, of the people that you like what's being used. But to be honest,
it's
I
still early for that, isn't it?
it yeah, I think that it has forced people that are after that to be a bit more put a bit more value in what they're offering.
Yeah, a bit
So like
more
I know there's
bother.
people that I follow. Yeah, there's people that I follow that are definitely like they're openly like, oh, I need to hit that. Like that's a decent. But the stuff that they're putting out is actually really valuable, kind of knowledge based stuff. It's the same with YouTube. Like making decent content is what then
Mm,
gives you the following, gives you the
yeah.
impressions. On the flip side, there's also the people that, but they were doing this anyway. I think there's a lot of people that are going down the controversy route and trying to, I was accused of that, but based on this tweet that we're going to look at in a bit, but that wasn't my
Mm,
intention. But there's some people they think, okay, blue check mark, controversial tweet, that's what they're
yeah.
going for.
So
Um,
for now, I mean, X is still Twitter, right? And it's still got those types of users and they're still tweeting the same types of stuff and it's still pretty good in terms of the quality of stuff is better than elsewhere, right? Than Instagram or whatever, isn't it?
I've always preferred it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
preferred it to
I
everything
would agree,
else.
even
Even
though I
for
don't really use it much, but I agree that if you follow the right people, you're getting good, like high quality stuff. You're not getting
yeah,
throwaway stuff if you follow
mm,
good people, that is. But on Instagram, it's like, oh, here's a throwaway, candid photo of me looking at the sunset. It's like, does that benefit my day? Does it entertain me or educate me? Not really.
yeah. For
Yeah,
Instagram is useful for very like, for example, the graphic design world on Instagram is
yeah,
amazing. It's brilliant.
yeah.
Once you can tweak your algorithm to that kind of content, then it's actually positive stuff that you're seeing based on the fact that it inspires you to be like, oh, that's a really nice design. I want to use some elements of that in my next
Yeah.
piece of work, or any other creative in terms of like
Mm.
photography or whatever. But then when it comes to just as a social platform,
Yeah.
then I think that's where your negatives come in, because all you're doing is competing for a life that someone else has, as opposed to anything that you can
Sure.
constructually can better your life with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 So
You know?
it's still got that sparkle in its eye, but who knows if it'll stick around.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Oh
Let's
wow.
look at your thing.
Um, let's go down. Gonna get a bit dicey.
Oh.
Gonna get a bit dicey. This was ironic. I really like this.
Uh, yeah, I saw that yesterday, I think.
It is quite ironic, but that wasn't part of my.
Bro,
That wasn't part of me.
you know it's one of the sickest movies, yeah? Mrs. Doubtfire.
I actually googled if it would be considered transphobic. I actually searched that in
Of
my
course,
search bar,
right? I don't know.
and I searched it on Twitter as well, like Mrs. Doubtfire transphobic, just to kind of consider are
Yeah,
those conversations being had these days? And they
yeah.
absolutely were. They
You've
absolutely
seen it,
were.
right?
Hmm.
Bro, it's
It's a
so
hood
good.
classic, bro.
It's so good. It's so the I guess it's like it's a bit of a unique story, isn't it? But also
Yeah,
the acting, the dialogue, it's the mixture of what's his name again? Robin Williams, right?
yeah, yeah.
Robin
Robin
Williams
Williams.
and the script, like the dialogue that went with it, and him and oh, so good. And he's like a
No.
voice actor or whatever, isn't it, in the film? So he's
Yeah,
doing all these different impressions. Oh, I like it. I like when
yeah,
he's doing the impression of a supposed to be like a Cuban lady or something. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. On the phone.
that's so
Let's
funny.
just quickly, because I've realised we're actually at an age where there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea what that film's about.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Because it was what 90s, wasn't it? So
yeah,
just a quick synopsis. Uh, he's a husband of kids. He's got a wife. They get a divorce, and then I think through the deal that whatever the court gives him, he doesn't get to see his kids at all. Pretty
yeah.
much,
And I think
I
it's
think he
like
gets
once a
to
week maybe, or once every two
once a
weeks.
week or
Yeah,
something.
mm.
It's quite actually deep in terms of like from a masculine perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
So in his absolute love for children and desperation to be with his kids more,
yeah,
he works as a voiceover artist, doesn't he? And he
yeah,
actually, so he's got like connections with makeup and prosthetics and costumes and whatever. He notices that they've put out an ad for a nanny, the family, his
yeah.
kids, his
Yeah,
ex-wife,
because his
and he
wife's also
thinks, oh,
quite. His wife is kind of like that feminist,
working woman,
powerful woman, working corporate kind of thing as well, isn't it? Whoa,
100%.
this was in the
So
'90s, bro. This is ahead of.
I think I
Yeah.
might need to rewatch it, bro. And you can imagine, yeah. So he dresses up as a woman, puts a prosthetic plastic face on and everything,
Yeah,
and he applies for the job. And obviously, because he knows his children so well,
yeah.
she's like, "Oh wow, you're brilliant with the kids." Like, yeah,
But
you
if
got
you
the job.
remember, what he does is he calls up pretending to be bad candidates. So he
Ooh,
scares her into choosing him because then when he calls, he sounds perfect because the others are so
yeah,
bad. I remember there was one specific one. He calls her and then she's like, hello. And then he like pretends he's screaming at his kids. And he's got that like that southern kind of accent. And then
yeah, yeah,
he's like, he shouts, supposed to be shouting at his kid, like, I don't know, Johnny, don't make me get the bell.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He does, yeah,
And then she's like, oh, whoa, no way I'm hiring this person. And he does a few
yeah,
of those. And then when he calls with this Scottish accent, it's like, oh, wow. It's like it's some kind of, you know, how the Americans, I mean, especially before, they used to think of British people so like,
yeah,
sophisticated and this and that. So, yeah.
yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I can't remember too much about how it ends and stuff,
And
but
then
that's a very
he
good
gets hired
synopsis.
basically as the nanny, and he's
Yeah,
pulling it off for a while, and there's that subplot of his ex-wife is getting close to this guy, and he's
a
like
new man.
smashing this guy behind his back, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's like
Doesn't he put like
like
chili in his
pranking.
food or
Yeah,
something?
he gives him food that he's like allergic to and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he gets caught in the end. He gets caught, but I can't. Yeah, I can't remember. obviously some sort of happy ending. I don't think he like remarries her or anything, but he just gets custody of
No.
the kids somehow. Or he gets like
Yeah, and he
50-50
gets a
time
TV
or
show.
something.
He
Yeah,
gets
and
a
he gets a
TV
TV.
show
Yeah.
as the nanny.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've spoiled it for people, but that'll do. Don't think anyone's going to really go back and look. But in terms of that message, it's actually I didn't really think of it on that level. It's quite deep.
It is, yeah. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on this to be honest, but because I've dealt with it for the past 2 days now. But this was essentially the tweet, right?
Okay. Are you gonna read it or should I read it?
I think you can read it. You can make your own mind up.
Okay. A brother came home to me seeking advice after a share. Okay, so this is a real story
Brother.
that the brother came to you, specifically you personally, yeah?
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
was.
okay.
Yeah, it's
So
just predation. A message.
he met a girl through Tinder who traveled across cities to see him. Fell into zina, but when he felt regret and blocked her off, she decided to report him for rape in an attempt to ruin his life. Demons in human form. Mm,
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
No, I pretty much. I think I tweeted that. Like, yeah, I tweeted that just as I got home, or just as I was on my way home.
Bro,
So
that's
it's still just
bad, yeah.
just happened. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, contextually speaking, I could have added a lot more context to that.
Yeah, obviously you
I
got to
could have
keep it.
wrote a whole story.
Yeah.
But in my head, my perspective was like, well, let's just take. I mean, he showed me more things to let me know that what he's saying is the truth. But in
Do you
my
know
head,
this
yeah, he's
guy?
told.
Like, or he's just.
Never met.
Oh,
No,
okay.
so no, I never met him before, but he's a regular at the masjid, but I don't know him, if you know what
Yeah.
I mean. I say
Okay.
he's a regular only because the past few days I've seen him since. Do you know what I mean? At the
Yeah.
masjid. But I'd never. There's so many people who go to the masjid, you don't know everyone. You know what I mean? So yeah. Uh, Contextually speaking, he showed me a lot of stuff. He even showed me like stuff from his lawyers. He showed me like evidential things. He was just obviously I was a police officer before, so he said to me, "Oh, I've seen you around in uniform before, so I wanted to ask you." Because people are asking, the critics of this were like, "Why would he ask just a random Twitter?" Well, that's not who he asked. We all have lives outside of
Are you a random
online work.
Twitter? That's exactly what he was
No,
thinking when he went up to you in the masjid. Like, yeah, I need
no,
to go
you.
speak to a random Twitter.
Yeah, he was just asking. Like, he wasn't even concerned about the rape allegation being upheld. He was more concerned of, does a false rape allegation have consequences for me on my record?
Hmm.
It was more that kind of thing. It wasn't like, oh my God, am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah, yeah,
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So, so what? I have no reason to disbelieve him.
yeah,
He's come
sure.
to me. He didn't need to tell me anything. Didn't need to
Yeah.
tell me anything. Whatever.
We don't
And,
know who this girl is anyway.
we don't.
We're not
All
doing
we do
anything
know
to
is
her,
that,
yeah.
yeah, all we do know, and I say this, you know, as a reality, is that she's not Muslim. That's all I know
Oh,
about her.
she's not Muslim,
And
okay.
she's not Muslim, and she's not from where we live, because I've
Okay.
clearly outlined that
Bro, I just realized
she
how many
came here.
views this has got.
Yeah, that's what I mean, bro. It's got to be,
440K.
yeah, it got a bit
Whoa.
messy. It got a bit
Okay.
messy. And that's also, if you see at the bottom, people actually tweet, follow, or mention can reply.
Yeah.
So I haven't even got replies open.
Did you
But
do
what
that
people
before
have
or
done,
after it went big?
it's usually my setting for a lot of my tweets.
Okay.
It's my default setting
Yeah.
because I just can't be bothered for random opinions
Okay.
that I don't need.
Yeah.
So people that I follow can reply, and that's fine because
Mm.
I follow them for a reason. But what people can do as an alternative is quote tweet. You know what quote tweet looks
Got
like,
you.
don't you?
Yeah.
You can just sort of, yeah, quote it like this. Um,
Organized chaos. That makes
we're
sense.
probably not going to see a lot of the negative, not negative, but a lot of like the heavy criticisms because I muted everybody.
Oh, that's a shame.
I just, I'll have a look, but it might come up on here.
Okay.
But
So is this it or is there more to the thread? Is there a thread
so,
here?
so
Yeah.
no, so this was the original thing. Anyway, what ended up happening? Let's see if I can have a look at some. Uh, a lot of people that are coming through here are probably the ones that I didn't bother muting. Um, so yeah, a lot of people are like making fun of the fact that I said fell into Zina, but I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
say
just
fall into
making up
sin all the time.
stories based on what you think you want it to mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
You mean you don't mean fall as in you tripped by accident.
yeah.
You
Well,
mean
so yeah,
he fell into what's
yeah,
the phrase?
sin.
Yeah, fell into a sin or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah. So so that gives you an angle of one of the criticisms that a lot of these, it was predominantly women that when you sort of analyze their accounts, they're very much, feminist, hardly like a lot of hammer and sickle symbols,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
wasn't too familiar with, and lots of pronouns and lots of other things. But
yeah. Those go
mm,
together. Yeah, quite a lot.
so there was a big focus on the fact that, well, he committed zina, blah blah blah, and I think maybe my intention was like, yeah, I know he did. That's why I'm saying this. Like, part of the reason is like, don't do this stuff because
Yeah,
look at the
of
consequences,
course. Yeah,
right? Right. Um, Now, but also look at the capacity of some women to lie about these kind of things,
yeah,
right? That's another thing. You know, he's not the only Zany here, if it's true. She is as well, but there seems to be a lot of focus on the man who committed zina. So and then a lot of like, funnily enough, a lot of lifting of the blame off the woman. Like, he committed zina, he lured her, he did this, he did that, he initiated. He There was all this context that wasn't even there. But at the end of the day, they both had Tinder accounts, and she came to him. And there's a lot of other stuff which I didn't want to share and didn't get explicitly into about
yeah.
the fact that she was very consensual in the whole matter, right? But whatever.
So
Um, you know,
why did she want to ruin his life? Because she just got kind of salty that he blocked her.
yeah. So it's not the first time. That's what another thing. Like, I had a few follow up things to this
Yeah,
where I said that this happens all the time. It does. It's not obviously the majority. We know that. We know it goes without saying that compared to actual rape reports, the ones that are lies, far less. Like, that goes without saying. But we always warn about all sorts of minor issues as well as the major ones. I don't need to warn people about the fact that rape happens. Everybody knows that. But a
yeah, and that's
new
not your
or
audience, anyway.
lesser, yeah, a lesser known or a lesser, known, I don't
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
danger is something that should be raised.
yeah,
And this
yeah,
was an
yeah,
opportunity to raise it.
yeah. And if anything, like this shows you how both things are bad.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
like Zinna's messed up, right?
yeah.
And it gets you into these kind of tricky situations. This is one of many that it could get you into, right? But also, bro, I hear of a lot of stuff happening in universities where girls are pressured into doing things they don't want to do. That's a big culture in the UK as well. It's not a Muslim culture thing, alhamdulillah, but that is a big problem. But either way, it's like this whole culture of zina basically is really messed up for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I basically. Well, then again, there's a lot here that maybe I didn't bother. But here we go. Look, uh, the brother planned carefully and eventually committed filthy sin. When he got what he wanted, he cut her off. Just like a woman's faces unfair realities posted, so does he. We've got actual oppressed people to be concerned about instead of him. There's a lot more.
Okay, wait. So let's break that one down. So this person is saying, so the guy committed a filthy sin and he got what he wanted and then he cut her off. Yeah, okay. So he's saying like
That isn't that.
he's saying he cut her off because he was done with her. But it was more like he was done with zina. That's what you understood from him, right? That he was done with the sin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot of it is imposed. A lot of it, for example, some of the harsher ones I saw. Like, one woman was like, just replied. So basically, you're saying that he raped her, and I was like, no, I didn't say that.
Yeah, it's all
And
people wanting
essentially,
to
the
see a
running
certain
theme,
reality. Yeah.
yeah, the ones that you're seeing at the moment are the ones that are mild,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously, this is out of um,
So that guy
it
was
was
that guy was saying
235.
that he got what he wanted and he cut her off. That doesn't seem
Yeah, a lot of
true,
people
right?
were saying that.
That doesn't seem
Yeah, a lot
true
of people
based
were
on
saying
what
that.
you were told.
Do you know
But then
what?
and then
With
he
all due
said
respect,
that
even if he did that,
yeah,
let's say he did that,
yeah,
they both committed the sin. They both are, guilty of zina. whether
Yeah,
one's Muslim or
but
not.
that's not.
But the added
That's
caveat on top of
yeah,
that
yeah.
is that one person is allegedly lying about rape, right? At the end of the day, you've got two issues here. You've got both of them are committed zina. Nobody's denying that. In fact, I mentioned they committed zina. I didn't say he slept with a girl. I actually labeled it as zina. I could have said that he got into a relationship with someone and then she accused him of rape. No, I said zina. So in that in and of itself
It's
is
negative.
a categorical label for a
You didn't
sin.
say he
Yeah.
bagged a girl.
No, I didn't say he got romantically involved. He got into
Yeah,
an entanglement. I didn't say that.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, um,
Yeah, and like even
yeah,
if like some guys do that, right? They'll get with a girl and then they'll just block her. And you could
yeah,
say that that could have a big effect on a girl, right? That could kind of traumatize her or whatever. But it's not. I don't think anyway. It's the level of actively trying to ruin someone's life. Going to the legal system and all of that. Is it? It's not the same level. Although both is bad, Yanni.
no,
But
yeah. So I try and show you the follow-ups I had. I must have muted so many, considering there's only a few here out of the 20. Like we must have just
sounds
flicked through
tiring.
30, but there's
Let's see
200.
the rest of the tweets. Okay, I shouldn't have to
So later
spell it
on,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
No,
so you,
sorry,
you
carry on.
posted this afterwards, like after the reaction?
Afterwards,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you
The
said
next,
I shouldn't have to spell this out, but here goes. The lesson intended here is that zina has consequences for both the man and woman. His life could be wrecked by a lie, and if she is caught lying, she could be convicted or jailed for perverting the course of justice.
yep, that's pretty much it.
Really? So
That's what I was trying to say.
she could actually get in trouble as well, yeah?
Well, here's a follow-up, for example.
Yeah.
Uh, Here's an
So
example that I gave.
So this is a news article headline. 3 men attempted suicide after woman's false accusations of rape and grooming. Court hears. 3 men attempted suicide. So the same woman did that?
No, no, no. But I'm giving an
Okay.
example because basically,
Yeah, yeah.
essentially, the running theme was
Yeah.
that the running theme from a lot of the quotes was that a woman is incapable of lying about these things. It was almost like if she said she was raped, then that's it.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
literally the
What's that
theme. The
hashtag?
theme was,
Believe her or something. What was it?
yeah, that was
Me
it.
too, believe her. These hashtags that go together. I can't remember
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they are.
You're right. I'm gonna find there was four more that I put together, but I can't find them now. Oh, maybe I deleted it. There was uh this was another response from someone who was also critical, and I really didn't like it.
And that looks like a Muslima's name. Amal, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. So 3 men
It's,
attempted suicide, and she replied saying, only 3? Such a shame. Yeah, these people can die, to be honest.
and then where's the last one? If I can find it. Obviously,
Mez
yeah,
jumping
so
in
these are
there.
four other. So here's the last one that
Yeah.
I'll share for now, just on context.
So
So,
some women lie
so
about rape. I know, it's shocking. Eleanor Williams, jailed for eight
same
and a
again.
half years. So 8.5 years for the lying thing, yeah?
This is for those 3 men that we saw earlier,
So
right?
she was
It's the
involved
same
with these
woman.
3 men.
Well, the court found that she was
So she
that she
lied
was
about
jailed.
3 men raping her, and she went to jail for 8.5 years, yeah?
Yeah, and then we've got
Mad.
more jail
Jail for the
for
Essex woman who lied about being raped by 2 different men. That's a different woman, this one, yeah?
these are different. These are all
Oh, these are
different.
all different women.
I,
Crazy.
because I
Okay.
cropped out the photos of them and stuff. I just took the
Yeah.
headlines. A woman avoids jail for falsely accusing a man of rape and even
What did
lied to
they
his
get out of this,
family.
bro? Like,
Woman who lied she'd been raped by a delivery driver jailed for more than a year. So, look, at the end of the day, and I shouldn't have to caveat this, and I kept, it's like they're bullying you to make a caveat. We know that rape exists, and majority of the cases aren't lies. That's the whole thing. We're
yeah.
not saying that. What I'm saying is, on top of the sin of zina, top of the sin of zina and all the dangers of it, STDs and unplanned pregnancies or whatever, and obviously,
Black
well, we said
heart.
sin, but with the sin comes the threat of Jahannam, right? But in the dunya, on top of all those things, one of the other things it was intended to warn brothers. One of the other things is this, and it's happened to people that I know, and it's happened to people that I've just bumped into in the masjid. You know, um, this being the first time that I've met someone in the masjid who's come up to me and told me this. Um, but there's people that I know that I grew up with, and this has happened to them. Um, and there's people that I won't even go into that. There's just people. There's a lot of guys I know that this has happened to. Um, and by the way, the ones that I know that it's happened to, it got thrown out. It got to court and it got thrown out. So I'm not saying that suddenly I'm
Were there
friends with
any
loads of
consequences
rapists.
on the women in that case?
I don't know. So the problem is with the counter of that. So you can prove that somebody is, um, what's the word? You can prove that you can prove what's the word I was going to what was what I'm trying to say. So you can go only based on what the evidence is. So you may be able to say there's not enough evidence to say he did rape you, but then there's not enough evidence to say that he didn't. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Or there's not enough evidence to
that
say
it's a
that you're
lie.
lying about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
So a lie would have to show you'd have to have evidence of some sort of premeditation, maybe,
yeah,
or do you understand what I'm trying to say?
yeah. So it's
Like
harder
we
to
could,
prove that you're lying versus that he
yeah.
just didn't rape you. Yeah,
But those articles I'm showing you are ones where they did prove that the lie was happening
yeah, yeah, and
because it
that's
wouldn't
where
have
there's
gone into court.
consequences. Hmm.
So, for example, I and another. There's a few tweets where I mentioned this. One of the tweets I said was, "You don't know how many false rape claims I've dealt with when I was a police officer." And I said
Hmm.
I was shocked at how quickly these women, these particular women who lied about it or made these claims, use it as a tool for revenge. And I didn't tweet. And when it started getting a bit too spicy and too many people, I was like, you know what, you guys don't even deserve my context because whatever I say, it's not going to. So I didn't mention it.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be interesting to say briefly. Like I remember once that I took a report from some woman. Uh, she she wanted to report her boyfriend slash ex boyfriend. I think it was ex boyfriend. Um, and she said, "Oh, I want to report him for sexual assault." I said, okay, tell me the story. And by the way, I've arrested loads of people for rape and I put people behind bars for rape. And do you know what I mean? Like, so I've got experience in knowing some level of detail of what evidence I'm looking for and stuff. Now, she wouldn't go into much detail about the sexual assault. She wouldn't go into detail about times and when it and where it happened and all this stuff. What she kept talking to me about was the fact that he's got a new girlfriend. Just again and again. And I appreciate he's got a new girlfriend. It's not relevant to the story unless she's involved in this allegation. You know what I mean? So can we bring it back? Bring it back to
Yeah.
what happened. Anyway, long story short, I had just about enough that I needed to speak to the guy. And I think he worked in Burger King or something.
Yeah.
And I went there and then to Burger King. And I spoke to the manager and I said, I need to speak to so and so. I think he works here. He's like, oh, what's wrong? Has everything happened? And I'm conscious. I don't want to ruin this guy's life if this is wrong.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
said, it's just a bit of an emergency. I need to speak to him privately. And he goes, oh, yeah, no worries. Speak to the guy. I'm like, speak to him privately. I was like, listen, because we're in the back of the kitchen of the restaurant of the Burger King.
Flipping burgers.
I
Yeah.
can't arrest him and drag him out in front of his colleagues and all his. So I said, look, I'm really sorry to do this to you here. But I
You
have to
see, this
arrest
is
you on
the
this. There's been no
patriarchy, bro.
allegation made.
This is the
Yeah, I
patriarchy.
said, I'm really.
You're going to him and you're saying you're really sorry when there are these
Hey,
serious
everybody is innocent.
allegations.
Everyone's innocent until proven guilty.
This guy is apologizing to a suspected
Everybody
rapist.
is suspected. It hasn't been through court yet. It hasn't been because do you want the police force that's objective, or do you want one that's coming in there loaded?
Yeah, yeah.
And look, we can't differ between crimes because someone will say, "Oh, there's a woman that was alleged of shoplifting," for example. If I went in and said, "Come here," do you know what I mean? Come here, you little shit. I know you did this. No, you wouldn't want that. The feminists wouldn't like that, would they? They'd say, "Oh no, blah, blah, blah." So what I'm saying is everybody has to be treated. And the reason we also
Yeah.
do that is because if I come in there heavy-handed, then the reaction is going to be
Of
heavy-handed.
course, yeah. So what did you actually have to
So,
do? Did you have to take him to the station, or you just
yeah,
question
so
him
I said
there?
to him,
Or
listen, I said to him, I need to, there's been an allegation of sexual assault, I think it was. And I said, there's two choices here. I can either arrest you now, put you in handcuffs and walk you through your restaurant, through your colleagues, through the customers, etc. Or we can walk together to the car, and then I'll arrest you in the car, and you can tell your manager that you've had a family emergency or something. So obviously, he went for the second option. Some people don't do that though. Some people won't.
They never
Some people are
take me
pussy.
alive.
Either way, I went back to the person after. I had to take him to the custody, and that's where they get interviewed at a later date. What happens is they go to custody, so they stay in a cell whilst you go and get more evidence. So the part of the more evidence I had to get was a statement, for example, from the woman. So I go there.
But he's waiting there for like a few hours, is it?
It's up to 24 hours, unless like there's something really bad, then you can apply for an extension,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something that you really need more for.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and he's like, I don't understand this. Like, I haven't seen her in God knows how long. I just don't understand. But I just say, listen, I'm not here to interview you. That's not my job. I'm not interviewing him for this one. But I go to her afterwards after I drop him off I drop him off after he gets put in the cell, and I was like, I was trying to call her. She's like, what? I thought you dealt with it. Like, why do you need to talk to me? I was like, well, I've arrested him. Like, you need to give us a statement. She's like, what do you mean you've arrested him? I was like, I arrested him. You allege that he sexually assaulted you. That's why he told the police. So I'm here to follow up on that. No, I didn't want you to arrest him. No, I just wanted you to talk to him and scare him a bit. So what are we talking about? Like, are we just your we a tool just to be used, like to dangle, like scare him? What do you mean? Like, did he do this or not? No, 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 no. I'm just overreacting. No, no, no. I
Is
was like,
that her? Were those her words? I'm
yes,
overreacting. Oh,
yes. She just didn't want to take this any further at all. Once she realised that actually he's been arrested now, and by the way, I know, yeah, people are gonna have all sorts of images in their head or whatever. This guy, like, he didn't. I don't know, what they call it, physiognomy or physiognomy or whatever. We could just judge people with appearances.
okay.
I like this guy was like a really like skinny, short, kind of not that aggressive looking kind of guy. Like, I'm not saying that people like that aren't capable of crime. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, like, he didn't come across as someone who was, I don't know, an aggressive type or whatever. I don't know whether that plays into things or not. But no, but then later on, we saw the messages because it was part of like the pack that we had to get from his phone. So when you arrest anyone for rape, we get the messages.
Hmm.
Bro, all the messages were just proof that it was just all one sided. Where she was just like, I can't believe you're with this girl, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to ring the police, etc., etc., etc.
Oh,
None of
that's
it was,
that's
none of it was
bad.
like, yeah, none of it was like, oh, for what you did to me or whatever like that. Anyway, whatever. Did it happen? Did it not? I don't know. I'm going by obviously that case didn't go anywhere, you know. But all I was trying to say, without that case being there, there's lots of other cases that I can't start reeling all the cases I've dealt with, but there's lots of others that I've I've gone through. All I'm saying is that yes, sometimes women are incapable of lying about these things, and the story of Yusuf alayhi salam is a prime example. It's something that is not far beyond the imagination. That's all we were saying. That's all we were saying. If you want
Standard.
to talk about actual rape cases, you know, I've dealt with way more actual rape cases than the ones like this. And I even said to somebody who was tweeting all sorts of stats and stuff to me, I told her, I've put more rapists behind bars than you ever have through tweeting. Like, I know what a rape case is. I've dealt with them. I dealt with one guy that will always remain with me was that I found a girl and this is this. I didn't tweet this. I wasn't trying to show that I'm a hero or whatever. Or, look at me, blah blah. I'm just giving the reality. There was a girl that I found literally on the floor in absolute like bits, like just ruined, dirty, filthy, whatever. And it was like one of those Friday night, uh, you know, near nightclubs and stuff. And it just shows you society, and it shows you just the craziness of society, really. Um, I'm asking her like, "What's up? Are you okay?" etc. etc.
Were you
And
called there?
huh?
Were you called there or?
I think security guard called us. Yeah, I think a security. It was a few years ago now. It must have been 4 years ago or 3 years ago. God, yeah. So yeah, uh, get there. She just looks in ruin. I'm basically like, okay, what's going on? She starts literally, she's drunk, but she starts saying things that are crazy extreme. Like, oh, my boyfriend's gonna kill me. He's look at my tongue. He's burnt cigarettes on my tongue. He's burnt cigarettes on my head. He's beat me up. He's this. He's that. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is awful. Take her back to the police station, and I spend maybe 4 hours writing a statement, like an initial statement. She described this guy as an absolute terrorist, really, like a terrorizer of women. She said that he's got a kill kit in his house, like an actual an outfit that he's got in a cupboard that he uses, that he threatens to use to kill her. So it's got like ropes and knives and all sorts of chemicals, and like has like almost like a hazmat suit. It was like a black hazmat, all this stuff. Apparently, she was describing it in detail. And I'm just typing. And as I'm typing, like halfway through, I was like, I told my colleague, I said, you need to go out there because I had a picture of him, I had his name now. I was like, you need to go out there right now and literally search the whole city for this guy. Like, I don't want this girl going, basically leaving the police station until we've got this guy. Because we could say I'll put her in a safe place or whatever it is, but I also couldn't trust that she wouldn't change her mind. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, this happens as well. This is something you need to keep in mind because women can be vulnerable and change their mind or go back to whoever it is or whatever. As I'm doing that, right at the end of the statement, my colleague finds him. Arrests him, deals with him the same way I dealt with the other guy, and he put him in the custody center, put him in the cell. Comes back to me later on and he says, that's one of the most disgusting, vile people I've ever dealt with. I was like, how come? Like, what's happened? And he was apparently he was bragging about the fact that you'll never get him, you'll never do anything to him, she'll never actually tell you the truth. Like he was just smug. You know, get criminal, he's just smug. Straight away, it's almost like he knew. It wasn't like he was like, "Well, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything." It
Yeah.
was more, "There's nothing you can do to me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
nothing's going to happen."
Yeah.
Which pushes you to even further to think this guy is a vile, evil human being. Um, it's partner, and then Achi, I did everything I had to do with that. He went to the cell. They again get sent to like specialist units and stuff. Anyway, maybe a couple of weeks later, so no longer is this sitting with me because it's quite a serious case, so it goes to this another department. A few weeks later, I get like a notification to basically check the case or whatever on the system. I check the case. The very next day, she wrote a statement withdrawing everything that she said.
Oh.
Despite the fact that I spent hours taking a statement, she wrote a statement saying everything I said that day was a lie and it wasn't true, and I made it all up. You know. Now that is a false rape allegation where actually I'm very inclined to say did happen, and she was pressured into withdrawing it by the person themselves. Can you prove that in a court of law that she was pressured? If you have evidence to say she was, some cases they take it out of the victim's hands and they prosecute regardless if they've got more evidence than just that. I can't say for sure the details behind what happened after that. I don't remember, and I wasn't involved in it any further. All I know, and this is what I'm trying to say to people, like you're talking when these people online are just spouting nonsense. I was speaking from a position where I've dealt with two sides of these kind of things. I've dealt with the fake and I've dealt with the real. And that was one of the worst ones that I dealt with. There's been others. There's been somewhere like there only was someone raped, but they had a miscarriage because a person kicked them in the stomach. There's been loads I've dealt with. Loads. Way more than, like I said, the fake ones. Um, but this is it. That's all I was saying. Ultimately, all we're saying is this is the danger of zina. This is the danger of a man getting into some sort of situation like this. And likewise for women. I was saying they're both guilty of zina. Both men and women are guilty of zina. It takes two to tango. But obviously, there's always a focus on the man who's apparently planned it and initiated it and forced it and whatever. You know, just everybody needs to take some accountability. That's what it is. Um, what are your thoughts about this whole
Yeah.
mess?
People are. I don't know, bro. I don't waste time with these people, bro. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like literally. Okay, like I distance myself from these people because I'm not like on Twitter and stuff. Um, And like even in day-to-day life, like I don't think I would be mixing with these people. Like the type of
Yeah.
place I'd go, I wouldn't be mixing with them. They wouldn't go to those places.
Yeah.
So it's just like just leave them be, innit? leave them
Oh, I'm
to
not. Yeah.
leave them to talk their rubbish. At the same time, of course, we can, if something becomes an issue, right? Like let's say
Yeah.
this false accusation thing becomes an issue, especially amongst Muslims and stuff, then we can highlight it. We could, maybe contribute to resources to help out or
Yeah.
whatever it is. We can do that, right? But if I were to do that, right? Like actually, there was a charity for fathers, Muslim fathers who are losing custody of their kids wrongfully or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually donated to that charity. Not, but I did
Yeah.
not do that like these women seem to be doing. I did not do that out of oh yeah, I've got to support my man then. I've got to support the guys, support my gender. There's not an ounce of me that's thinking like that. It's just like, yeah, this is injustice A. B, it's bad for the kids. The kids need a father and it's oppression. So that's why, literally it's for that reason. Yes, is there a little bit inside me where I'm like, yeah, this feminist thing has gone too far and we have to fight back? Yes, that is also part of it. But I feel like that's also coming from the same perspective from the same direction as oppression, right? Like I believe feminism in most of its forms is oppressive and we should stop it. But when I was donating to that charity, it wasn't to fight feminism. I didn't really think of it like that. It's just fighting oppression
Yeah.
and helping these kids who now will grow up without a father, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't, bro, I don't even mix with too many people. Most people that I mix with, alhamdulillah, are very like practicing and this and that. But here and there, even me, and it shows maybe how widespread it is, I hear of these situations happening where women, for whatever reason, actually there was a story, one woman, her husband apparently cheated and they have I think one child. And so she wanted divorce, yani, fair enough, I guess. But then she doesn't want the kid to see his father.
Mm.
And I think she move to another city or something? And she doesn't want the kid to see his father. This is the problem. This is the problem. If you want divorce and you can't stand the guy, blah, okay, so be it. That's like, whatever, that's a different issue. That's fine. But it's like you're
So,
ruining your son's life.
yeah. 100%.
You're ruining your son's
100%.
life. And it's just like, why are you ruining your son's life? Oh, because you're spiteful? Well, now you're dumb and you're oppressive because you're dumb. You know?
Yeah, and the legal system does lean that way, doesn't it? I mean, Yusha Evans was speaking about it quite openly in he did a whole series about it through his own experience. He did. I'm not talking about his private business; it's very public knowledge. He did a whole thing about it because he struggled with this as well with his children. I think
Oh,
his
he
ex-wife
was
and stuff.
fighting for custody, yeah?
He was fighting for all sorts, and he said no matter how many times I think he'd go back to try and you know get more done and whatever, get more of his rights back. The legal system was just basically screwing him over time and time again. I'm sure it's still up there on his YouTube channel somewhere. Um,
Bro, this happened with Mahdi Tijani as well. His wife accused him of some terrorist stuff, which is like a big, that goes
right, I
straight
didn't
to
know that.
like, yeah, what do they call it?
Yeah,
DEFCON
yeah,
5 when you say those kind of
yeah,
things. And
yeah,
that deprived him of access to his kids, you know? So, and again, people know that I don't agree with a lot of his things he says, but it's nothing to do with, it's not a personal issue. It's a justice
it's more
issue.
about the
It's an
children.
oppression
It's the
issue.
rights of the children, isn't
It's
it?
the
It's the
rights of the
rights of the
kids.
children as
It's
well.
like, even if I believe Mehdi will raise his sons with some bad ideas, they're better off with his bad ideas and a father than no father. I believe that, right? For the most part, I believe that.
Yeah,
So, yeah, this stuff is messed up. But yeah, what can we say, Yanni? You have to be conscious of the fitan and the ibtilaat of the dunya. This is sometimes like the dunya. Yani, you don't usually look at it this way, but the dunya gets presented to you. Okay, like imagine
yeah,
you're married to a man. He's got like a lot of wealth. Maybe he's got a couple houses, and I don't know, you catch him cheating, or you're just fed up of him, or whatever it is. Oh, I never loved him anyway, or blah blah blah, right? Whatever reason, bro, that whispering could happen where it's like, look, I could be sitting on 200k, I could be sitting on £1 million. This guy's got 2 London houses, they get half of that. I could be sitting on a lot of
Yeah.
money, and I don't have to deal with him because I'm kind of fed up with him anyway. It's a bit stale, whatever. It'll just be me and the kids. If I want to, I'll have enough money. I could pay for babysitter. I could go and do my thing, live my life. Whatever temptations come in your head. This is also the one of the tests of the dunya. You know that you could have access to the dunya through actually haram means, right? Is that not haram? Is that, even as someone who's not qualified to give rulings, it's easy to say it's haram. Oppression is haram. You know, depriving your kids of their father and the father of his kids and blah, blah, blah. And this is the biggest one, which I don't know how many people mention this, and going to a taghut court to get rights that Allah never gave you. This can go to the level of shirk. This can go to the level of shirk. Yani choosing to rule by other than Allah's law. There's no such thing as rule of the land if you're going against the Sharia. If you're going to get your right that Allah gave you that right, and you can get that right from the Taghut law system, then that's different. But to try and get a right that Allah never gave you from another system, this is no better than, you know, what the mushrikeen of Mecca would do and stuff. And there are many ayat about this. So this is a fitna, isn't it, bro? This is a fitna. Just how men have fitan. Men have fitan, maybe it's like, yeah, they think they can link up with girls and then drop them and block them and get away with it. Maybe they even do it with a Muslim girl and cause her all kinds of problems later on in life and blah, blah, blah. Just how that's a temptation because of how the society is set up and what the society allows. Likewise, you know, the women have these temptations. So you gotta, but the problem with this one, bro, is it can actually go to that level of shirk where it's like, I'm gonna use this legal system that Allah is not pleased with. Allah did not reveal. Allah never gave authority for these people to make laws. And then you go and take a right that is not yours with that system.
Well, that was some of the issues that some of my brothers were bringing up with this whole anecdote that we shared. Is that a lot of the women, especially, that were criticizing. Not to say there wasn't any men. There were some men that were sprinkled in there that I just classify as pick me men, bro. They're just trying to get female attention in a roundabout way. But they were saying that you're all believing the girl's rape claim, like, automatically, without the actual shari, you know,
Evidence.
shari conditions of that being, yeah, evidence being proven. All we have at the moment is a testimony of a Muslim brother that he's been falsely accused of something, and you won't even give that credit. Like, okay, let's just imagine that he's telling the truth and go based on that, because we're not here to make a ruling, or we're not here to judge him or whatever. And when I say judge him, I'm not talking about morally. I'm talking about, like, in a criminal law sense. We're not here to say whether he's going to go to prison or not, or worse. We're just saying, somebody said this to me. If that's true, then that's really bad. And it was almost like I'd made up a story that could never happen. It was almost like a lot of people were saying, yeah, sure, that happened. It was like, it does happen. Here's some examples of this year. It happens. Why is that beyond the realm of possibility that could have happened? No, absolutely not. How easy is it for that to happen, though? Like, think about it practically. How easy is it for me to be really frustrated and angry with somebody and say, oh, do you know what? Or even worse, you consensually did the thing, you consensually did the deed, and then you regret doing the deed. You hate the fact that you did the deed. You feel disgusted that you did the deed with such a person. So you say, oh, I hate that person now. Do you know what? I hate that I did that with them. You know what? I hate that person so much. He doesn't even deserve to walk around free. How can he block me? How can he cut me off? How can he use me like that? Use. Now you feel like you used, but at the time you didn't feel like you were used. That's it. He did me for rape. Retroactively, you've withdrawn the consent.
Yeah. That's common. Well, you know,
Yeah.
many of these guys talk about it. What's that guy's name? Samuels? Something Samuels?
Was it Kevin?
Kevin
Samuel.
Samuels, yeah. I think he used to talk about that, used to warn men around about that. And it's like a common thing now, in America at least. It's like, you got to cover all your tracks, you know.
Mm. I
Someone was
think
talking about you've got to get written consent somewhere somehow, you know, and it's just like
didn't it happen with
this
it
is
happened
too
with
long.
Neymar? Didn't
Maybe.
Neymar get involved with something like that? I'm pretty sure he had a video recording in his bed in his like house or something, um, like at an angle outside of the room or whatever. And then he was actually accused of thingy of rape, but then the video evidence completely threw it out. But a lot of this
Oh,
kind of
he
stuff
was
happens to a
filming
lot of
himself
celebrities
for
allegedly.
like evidence for proof. All right,
Right.
really?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to obviously say who said this to me, but it's some other person I know, and he was like, he's a bit of a naughty boy, to be honest. I say a bit of a naughty boy. It's not good. You know, he engages in Zina quite often. But he was saying that he records he records like, so say if he's on a date with somebody, he will record everything. Like he will record voice stuff and he'll record. Obviously, I'm not condoning that, am I? I'm not
Secretly
condoning
or?
that. Secretly,
Mm,
he'll
mm,
record everything because apparently it's so prevalent now
right.
that that can happen when
Yeah.
things go south.
Yeah.
Or yeah, maybe he is using people. Maybe he is using people. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. But he's consensually at the time using them or whatever you want to call it, or consensually they're sleeping together. At the end of the day, if you're actually, I don't want to say that. I was going to say put yourself in that environment, but you're on Tinder and you're hooking up with people. What do you expect? It's not like you're developing a relationship with them, or it's like, there was the older days of dating, quote unquote, is like there were different bases, wasn't there? You'd have to get to like what first date. You won't sleep with someone on the first date. Is that what they used to say?
Mm,
But that doesn't seem to be the case now. Now there's a hookup culture. Now there's apps that are just for one thing and one thing only, and no strings attached and all this stuff.
yeah.
It's just degeneracy, and these are all things that are forbidden and haram for a reason. And yes, there is a punishment involved for men and for women for engaging in this stuff. And yes, Toba needs to be sought. And all of this was just to reiterate that this whole cesspit of crap that people involve themselves in is riddled with consequences. That's all we're trying to say here.
Mm,
Both
mm.
women and men need to avoid this. That's why I say, لا تقربوا الزنا. Don't get close to it. Don't get
If you
close
get
to it.
close to it, you could get falsely accused or something. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, these three people that were falsely accused. I don't know if she had actually even engaged. I don't know the story of Eleanor Williams at all. I didn't look it up. I didn't look into it. But did they know her? Were they engaged? I mean, let's say I'm assuming that they spoke to her before. They've been engaged with her before, or even worse, imagine if they weren't. Imagine they've never seen this girl before, don't know anything about her. She's just pointed them out or whatever. I don't know. I've seen pictures of CCTV and stuff. Uh, I could be wrong about this. I know that there was a hammer involved where she had assaulted herself with a hammer, I think.
Oh,
So if there's pictures, the picture that I got rid of, by the way, because I cropped it out, the picture of her is like her full, like covered in bruises, all her face and stuff. And the
wow.
headline is that she lied about it and three men almost committed suicide because of it. Now, so
Almost, or
this is
they
like an
did?
extreme. No, almost where they attempted. It says I didn't
Attempted,
read too
okay.
much into it.
That's serious though, yeah. But actually, I just remember this happened to Mendy, the Man City player.
Oh right, yeah,
Can you imagine, yeah? Like, to be honest, like, I mean, he's not even Muslim, I can say this. He might be guilty, okay? But in the court of
yeah,
law, he was not found guilty. But what
yeah.
happened was 2 years, 2 or 3 years of not playing football. His career, I guess went down the drain. He might have
100%.
been, maybe he's like 26, 7 at that time, which is like the peak of your career. And
Yeah,
27 is in football. It's like you're still fully fit and you've got experience. It's like the peak. And that was when he was accused of rape. And he did not, straight immediately, they stopped him playing. And then he was just not playing or training or anything for 2 years because he was in this court case. And then after
yeah,
two
yeah.
years, they said, not guilty. And then I think it was 6 months till the season ended. And then I saw that he went to a new club, like a small club in France or something, right? So he was still, I guess, able to play, but his peak years. And what did he miss out on? Man City last season, he could have been part of that team. They won the Champions League,
Right.
Premier League, this and that. He could have been part of that. But Qadar Allah, of course, but this is what happened to him, and he had, I'm assuming he's got good lawyers, he's got a lot of money for lawyers. And again, ultimately, we only know Yom Al all the truth will come out. But
Yeah.
ultimately, there was not enough evidence that he was guilty.
Yeah.
Um,
At the end of the day, like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has outlined, the major sins in Islam. And there are major sins that are worse than rape. There are major sins that are worse than zina. There are major sins that are worse than these things we're talking about. Shirk being one of them, and people don't
Shirk is
levy that.
worse than rape.
Yeah. And people don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear that. And
Yeah.
one thing I was trying to say is that I outlined the story quite clearly that he felt regret, right? And he wanted to get rid of his kind of thing, right? In fact, I didn't write this, but I told him time and time again, as he's sending me this and showing me this, I said, you do realize, like, never do this again. Like, if you want a sign to never get involved in zina again or get involved with women
Yeah.
again like this, never do it again.
Yeah.
That's what I kept telling him. Obviously, that's like the main thing.
Yeah.
He's coming to me for legal advice, and I'm trying to give him, uh,
Nasiha. Yeah.
actual nasiha as well. Like, okay, like I hope you realize never to do this again. Anyway, um, yeah. So, and what I was trying to say is that this, as far as we know, the man's repented, but even his repentance isn't enough for people. Yet we all have, and I put a link to Imam Dahabi's book on the major sins, and I said, like, look through this list. It's on Twitter now. I said, go through this list and examine how many of these sins you've committed and you've yet to repent for. And you can do that now. You can do that and say, well, oh my God, disrespecting my parents is on the same level as this, or shirk is higher than that, or half the people in there had like flipping horoscopes and hammer and sickles and God knows whatever else, and still something of Islam in their bio, but some of them I couldn't even tell. Um, K-pop profile pictures and Disney princess profile pictures, and yeah, you take a glance at somebody's social media account and you make a quick judgment about what they're about, right? Who doesn't do that? Everybody does that, but it's quite well defined, right? Social media, your account, your profiles are a reflection, really, you'd like to think, of the person running them. Um, and it just makes me think, like, how many things have we got of major sins that we don't even think are that important because we take what society says is major. Nobody wants to talk about shirk. Nobody wants to talk about shirk. Nobody wants to repent for it. Nobody wants to even believe. And when I say nobody, I mean the people involved in it. They don't want to believe that what they're doing could be perceived as shirk. Certain things, whether it's, I don't know, horoscopes in their bio, or whether it's God knows whatever else. There's some things that there might be a debate about, but still, like whether it's like celebrating other, holidays or celebrations outside of Islam, outside of the two Eids, for example. These are things that are like, I don't want to be anywhere near shirk. I don't want to be any. You say Allah Subhanahu wa Taala tells us not to get near zina. Well, then imagine how far away we should be from shirk, if that's even worse. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tawheed ones.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm trying my best not to let the waveform be all me this episode, but I'm not doing a good job, am I?
Nah, so be it, bro. I don't mind. It's
It
like
is what it is.
I always think that I interrupt you a lot, but then when I see the waves form, I'm like, okay, no, I'm good. I'm
No,
good. Like,
no.
if that's what the ratio is like for like most of these episodes, then that's the winning formula. Amin speak less, Muhammad speak more. Simple.
Yeah, no,
Simple.
no. Here's what it is, man. But yeah, I didn't want to dwell on this topic because it doesn't deserve, like, the people that obviously are in my circle online or whatever. They all know what I was saying, and a lot of men, vast majority of men, knew that this was a message about the dangers of zina and not to get near it, and the dangers of some women who also engage in zina. Let's not forget that. Um, and it's been a long, long, long time since I've kicked the hornet's nest like that. I wasn't intending to. I didn't make a statement about feminists and expect. I wasn't like, oh, let me tweet about feminists today. I I wasn't actually expecting that. I was like, oh, subhanAllah, this brother just told me a crazy thing. Like, this is really bad.
Yeah.
Shared it, kicked
Boom.
the hornet's nest. you know?
But it shows you as
Uh,
well. People interpret what they want to understand from it. You said fell into zina. They had their definition of what that means, and they imposed that meaning onto what you mean, which was not
Oh,
true.
there was so much imposing. You know, one person said they went over to the city and they escorted her to his. I was like, "What are you talking about? I didn't say that. I said she
They
came
made a
to
whole. It's like you wrote one tweet and they turned it into a novel. And they added all
took
the
her honor.
detail.
Someone said they took her honor. So they took her honor. She was on Tinder looking for a
Not
hookup.
very
It
honourable.
was quite explicit. And then I said in response, there was a lot of framing initially that assumed that she was a Muslim girl.
Wow.
There was a lot of framing. And I said in response, she's actually a kafir, but you can frame it however you want. I don't really care. People took that to mean that I'm saying that, oh, because she's a kafir, it's fine. He can rape her. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't say
Yeah.
that. Oh, man, you can't win. You can't
This is
win.
why.
I'm
This is
not
why
saying that.
debates will never. There'll be never a conclusion to a debate over these kind of tweets or comments, isn't it?
Mute, baby. I'm mute. But the thing is that this is the danger of the online world. You think I bump into people on the street like this? Of course, don't. Don't give them the time of day.
Yeah.
Here's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
What
You
are
don't
you
sit with
doing, by the
anyone or
way,
have that
bro?
conversation enough.
On
On my what,
another
sorry?
on another topic, what's what are you up to these days in terms of you're doing that boot camp, you're doing design stuff? What is your current side hustle?
You want to know my business?
Yeah.
I made a promise that I shouldn't share as much as I do, but what are we like 500 episodes in? It's all been my stories. No, I'm basically taking a bit of a break, focusing on my day job. I've got a day job. That's what I'm focusing on at the moment. Um, Other than that, to be confirmed, to be what's the word? We'll see.
It seems like
I'm
you're
just
focusing
trying
on
things.
your health.
I am. Well, I was. No, I still am. I'm. Yeah, man. I'm like walking everywhere.
Like
All my clothes are too big for me.
outside of work, because work ends at a certain time, innit? It's not like you're dipping back into work, are you?
Uh, what do you mean?
It's like 7 p.m. on a Saturday. You're not
Oh,
voluntarily
now?
doing work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, my routine's quite.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like nine to
depends how
five
busy
kind of
work
thing,
is.
right? Or probably
Yeah,
like nine to
sometimes
three.
sooner. Yeah, most of the time it's like 10 to 1 because I just get all my work done really quickly.
That's that's what I call
Uh,
Emirati work day. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So outside of that, you just like family time and gym time and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. That's
that's
the
nice.
99% of it. I haven't done anything other than that really. Um, yeah, what about you? What's new in the
I told you
wild
last
world of me
episode
not
I'm new.
spoken?
I'm busy. I'm busy these days. I'm working on normal business. I'm working on the front row. Working on I have a couple. I don't know if I should call it durus, but like we have some halaqat. What else? I'm looking for
Hmm.
a personal trainer. I thought I found one. He did not turn out to be a reliable one. You know them ones where it's like, yeah, I'll do it for free, bro. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, so I want to do Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Yeah, bro, sick. 5 p.m. comes, nothing. No phone call, nothing. I'm like, if I can't rely on him to call me, not me call him, then it's not a
Hmm.
relationship that's gonna work.
What are you training then? You're going to do bodybuilding?
Something like that. I don't like that term for some reason.
I think you'd be more CrossFit kind of guy.
Why do you say
Hmm?
that?
I think it'd benefit you, more functional.
Okay. I like the idea of circuit training.
Because
Is that what
you used to
CrossFit
do like
is?
climbing and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I've got horse riding
Mm.
on my in my crosshair as
Oh,
well.
really?
Yeah. I found the place.
Do you do archery?
No, I did a little in the past.
I saw somebody doing like he's trying to do horse riding and archery at the same time. At the moment, he's doing
That's
them
the goal, isn't
separately.
it? Yeah, that's the goal. That's it.
Yeah, he was doing
Apparently one of the
horse
hardest
riding.
things you can do.
Yeah, yeah, just trying to aim it at the same time. Oh, I saw. So he put a video up where he was like, so on his archery training, he was pretending that he's riding a horse, and like turns around and like starts shooting the arrows backwards, just so he can get used to that kind of
Yeah,
movement,
yeah,
so
yeah,
that when he is eventually one day riding a horse, he'll be able to do it.
yeah.
You know, so he was literally like hopping on the spot. That'd
That's funny.
be really good.
That's some Tim
Yeah, yeah,
Ferriss stuff, man. Tim Ferriss learned that when I think he spent a few years in Japan when he was young. And I say Tim Ferriss because he's got that book called The 4 Hour Chef, which people think is a cookbook. And it is kind of a cookbook, but it's a book about learning skills and how to break a skill down into parts and then learn each part and stuff like that.
yeah.
So, yeah, bro, that's like a kind of a goal, right? If I could learn horse archery, that would be next level. But let me just learn horse riding first, and yeah, that's a skill on my horizon, and Turkish language as well.
How
Yeah,
is that
this
going,
kind of stuff.
Turkish? You've been there for a few years now. You should be fluent. What's going on?
Well, you could say I should be fluent. You're right. I'm not fluent, no. I don't know. Get by.
You're part of the problem. You are why the right wing likes to get pipe up and start stripping down
Yeah,
Arabic
people like me, to be
signs.
honest. Yeah. But the thing is, though, I'm like humble about it in terms of, I'm like, yeah, look, I know it's your country, your language. Like, I should learn it. I've put a bit of effort. Yes, not enough effort, but I put some. I speak a little bit with you. But I know many people who are like, no, I'm never learning Turkish. What the hell? Right? So I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I'm not that level.
It's crazy, isn't it? I don't know. I couldn't imagine living in a country and then having no intention of learning their language or
I
wanting to live there
know.
long term at
I
least. If you're
know.
there
Yeah.
visiting, yeah, I can imagine. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing is, what's happening now in Turkey is the people who came here from other countries, they're just slowly decreasing in number. We're not getting any new blood because you can't really move here very easily now anymore. So it's like
yeah.
a stagnant pond with mosquitoes growing.
You're only one big WhatsApp group.
Yeah, but it's a good group of people. So like right now, it's good, but I don't know what the future is. But it's good right now, alhamdulillah, and we have to focus on that because there's two types of people right now in Turkey. There's the negative people. They're living in Turkey, but they're so negative about Turkey. And then there's those who are
Mm.
like, they're like just the counter. It's like, I didn't even love Turkey that much, but now you're saying that. Now I'm gonna be like, I'm just gonna argue with you. So we got these two kind of groups. I'm in the second group usually, although I tried to just refrain. But yeah, that's what's happening basically over here. A lot of people are talking about it's actually a cycle. I don't know if we have time for this topic. It was a kind of a topic I wanted to bring up. Um, it's a
I've got
cycle,
time.
okay?
Go for it.
A couple of patterns I've noticed. One is once you get in the mode of moving countries, right? You might even just do it once, and you get comfortable with this idea that wow, the place I lived for 20 years doesn't have to be the only place I live, right? Once you get in that mode, it actually becomes, for a lot of people, that the grass is always greener on the other side. And you always, whenever you find a problem with the current country you're in, you're like, oh, but this other country doesn't have that problem, and that other country doesn't have. And let me keep my options open, right? So then you don't fully
Mm.
invest in the country you're in now. And that's a pattern I've seen, in a lot of my friends, myself. It's like you're always keeping your options open. You always comfort yourself whenever there's a hardship or a problem in the country you're currently in. You comfort yourself by saying, yeah, I could move to that country or that country. Yeah, yeah, we've got options. Okay, just like comfort myself with that. Or you
Yeah.
don't invest in the country, so you don't like learn the language, or you don't, I don't know, even the way you furnish your apartment, it's like, no, like we could leave in 6 months, though we're not buying that thing or whatever. And so you end up in this mode, which I don't think is good, especially it's not good for kids, because you could always move. And when you move, for you, it's cool. Like you're hoping to find that grass being greener on the other side. But for your kids, they need stability and stuff, and maybe a sense of identity that we live in this place, we're from this place, we speak this place's language, and blah blah blah. So that's one
Yeah.
pattern. That's one pattern I found, and I've seen some people do the opposite, do the other way. Like one brother I heard from Canada, he moved to Turkey straight away. He bought an apartment straight away, and he learned the language and everything. It's like, I'm here now, I'm done, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But most people I find, they're either like me, right? Someone like me who my whole life I've been very like, yeah, I don't know where I live. I kind of live wherever I want. But then you get people who they've been in the UK maybe 20 years, 30 years, and then once they move, now they move to Turkey. Now their mind opens like, oh, I could kind of move anywhere. And the
yeah.
problem is you don't. Some people never leave that cycle. You could be in that cycle at age 40. You know, actually, I've
Mm,
got a friend who he's about 40, maybe one or two, and he's got that attitude. He's like, look, yeah, Turkey could kick me out. I'll go back to Thailand. Yeah, I love Thailand. Oh yeah, I lived in Malaysia as well. But I love Malaysia. I'll live anywhere. You know, he's like, he's refusing to like invest in one place. But then this is maybe the solution for this problem. He got married to a second wife, and he's like, now I'm kind of like, I can't be moving all over the world, you know? So,
right, okay.
so at that
You're going
point,
to start telling me the Ibn Battuta story, marrying women in different countries. Just carry on going.
no. When he married again, he's like, yeah, now I guess I'm staying in Turkey, you know? I guess I'm going to do that. So that was him. But yeah, a lot of people get into this, and I don't know what the solution is, because as long as you've got options, you keep thinking and you think about what could be. But the truth is, bro, nowhere is perfect. And so this is what people have to keep in mind. Anywhere you live, you're going to have problems. And you just got to like relatively think of where you live based on what you're looking for. Is it mostly good? And I think generally
Yeah,
you should try, if you can say yes to that, and you're not compromising, you know, your deen and your kid's deen and your own ibadah and these things and your Muslim identity, then you kind of should lean towards stability. You know, that's better.
yes. Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. Like, there's a lot of things I take for granted about just being, growing up in the same city for God knows how many years, and having
Yeah.
that nostalgia for certain places, having a grounding, having a
Mm,
streetwise understanding of,
yeah.
certain locations, certain areas you shouldn't go, certain people you shouldn't talk to, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Connections, if you need anything.
Hmm.
There's a lot,
Yeah.
oh, I'm in trouble. Oh, I know so and so. Not every connection is online. There are things that you need in real life to solve real problems. Um, and you might not have that if you're constantly moving about.
Yeah. Well, you start from scratch
Um,
every time, isn't it?
100%. So yeah, these are things I'm actually thinking about quite a lot.
Mm.
Um, because I've definitely, even Tunisia, like moving to Tunisia was something that we did when I was younger. We moved to Tunisia and we lasted about 2 years there. And then, due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to come back to the UK. And that really messed me up in terms of education. Like, I'm not trying to, say that it was horrible and I just couldn't get through, but I remember really struggling at school with certain things. I couldn't tell the time for a very long time. I was telling my mum about this the other day. I never told anybody because I came back at like year five, but I must have left at like year two. And like year three and four, I don't think I've ever done year three and four. I can't remember year two very much. I may or may not have done a year two here, but year three and four I never did in the UK. And when I was in Tunisia, I did year one and two again. I went over the first couple of years of school there. Um, so yeah, there's 2 years of education I just missed, and they're quite vital in terms of learning some core skills of, especially maths. Like, there's some core things about maths and numbers and stuff. Yeah, and I really struggled with maths going forward for a long, long, long time. Uh, English, I was still very good at because I was still reading books out there. I was still playing video games that were in English, still very actively listening to English stuff. But definitely, math was a struggle. And yeah, that extends beyond that. Maybe socially, that could make somebody more awkward. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, language plays a big
yeah.
role, like how comfortable you are in a language. If you're not comfortable in the language that's out there in the street, it could actually make you into a socially awkward person. Not because you
Mm,
lack the skills, but because you lack the language and the feeling comfortable with the language, you know. So that you could
mm,
grow up lacking those skills and that kind of ability to go out there and get stuff done, not because of the lack of skills, but just because of the language, the
yeah.
mismatch. between where you live and what language you're comfortable with. So yeah, but the second pattern I've seen is high expectations when moving to a new country being the probably the biggest mistake that people make. Like when I'm talking about like moving from the West to a Muslim country, I've noticed, like a lot of people they move to a Muslim country, and maybe it's because they think, look, if I'm going to leave the place that I'm a citizen and I'm not like so comfortable with, if I'm going to
Yeah.
leave that, I'm only going to move to a really good place, an amazing place, like maybe a perfect place. But then, of course, when they get to that perfect place, it's not perfect, and then it's like they got to come back, back to reality, and that for some people it's really hard and harsh on them. But it's not because the place is bad; it's because their expectations were so high, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
And
100%.
I noticed this very clearly because I remember now, like, because I've spoken to a few people about this now. It's like I remember now coming to when I came to Turkey, I expected it to be like an average Arab country. So basically,
Mm.
worse than UAE, like less organized, less stuff is harder to get done. Infrastructure is worse than UAE. I expected it to be a downgrade, right? Like quality of life wise. But I thought, for the community factor, for stability, longevity, all of that, it's worth it. So imagine I had that expectation come to Turkey. So what do you think I found when I got here? I was like, whoa, like this is actually kind of better than UAE. Even infrastructure, how organized everything is,
Oh.
it's smoother. Like a lot of things are smoother than UAE here. Even if I don't have the language, it's still smoother than UAE in some things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So so I was like over the moon. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. Wow. I was gonna do 3 months here. If I liked it, then I was gonna do 1 year, and then I was gonna decide after that. But instead, after like 2 months, I decided like, yeah, I'm staying, right? Because I'm like, that's how good this is. But now imagine the other guy who's coming, and he's coming into two new things at the same time. And this is you got to realize, you got to understand yourself a little bit and where you're coming from. So they're coming from being a citizen, living in a country where they're a citizen. That's one change, big change they're making. They're moving to be an immigrant in a place. And the second big change is they're going from their home culture to a new culture, right? These are two big changes, and it's happening at the same time, right? Two huge changes at the same time. So that's very big, to adapt to. But
Yeah.
but although those huge changes are happening, they're arriving assuming everything to be as smooth as where they came from, and they're
Yeah,
expecting,
yeah.
the buying and selling culture to be the same as UK, and they're expecting the prices to be XYZ, and they're expecting all sorts of expectations. Especially a lot of people, they have this expectation that I'm going to a Muslim country, therefore it's gonna, like, literally I'm expecting all these guys to be Ansar, like the Ansar.
Mm.
And so when they arrive at the airport
Mm.
and the taxi driver robs them, basically, they feel almost traumatized by that sometimes. They
Yeah,
feel like
yeah, yeah.
wow, like my trust has been betrayed. Like I came here opening up to you guys, like you guys are the Muslims, you guys are like the Ansar. And I imagine you're Muhajir, you go to Ansar and they rob you or they rip you
Yeah.
off bad in the market.
Yeah.
Feeling so betrayed. But again, that's the difference. I came here thinking, I know a little bit what Turkey's like. Turkey's going to be way harsher on the ripping people off, on the bumping you, on the fighting, arguing over things. That's going to be harder than UAE. So I kind of,
Yeah.
I set the bar like somewhere between
Right.
Algeria and UAE. That's what I thought it was going to be. And again, I have experience of Algeria. I've experienced that in Algeria. If you do not raise your voice, you get nowhere. Like, and at least raise your
Yeah, yeah.
voice. Never mind other things.
Do you think people overly Islamize their journey, if you know what I mean? Like, do they? I think there may be a room for people who are not who they're expecting too much in terms of like this is a hijrah, like you said, like this is
Yeah,
I'm going
exactly.
to
I
a
do
Muslim
think that.
country, I'm returning to them, and
I do
that
think that.
side of
Yeah.
it is obviously
And maybe the
yeah.
reason for that as well is because the only way they're able to justify such a big move is because like this is fi sabilillah, right? And
Mm.
sure it is fi sabilillah, and your ajr is and Allah. but that doesn't change the reality on the ground of these average everyday people that you're coming and you're mixing with, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I don't know, but I expect people that come here, like the Uyghurs who are living here, right? They fled like persecution. Bro, what do you think their expectation is of Turkey? Like they're probably thinking like just not being in prison is amazing, right?
Yeah,
Or
100%. Yeah.
the Muslims from Russia who fled, especially when they mobilized people to go fight in Ukraine and they fled. They're like, yeah, just not being in the Russian army, that's sick. Just not being in prison is sick. Or like, there's quite a few from Central Asia here, like from Kazakhstan. They're like, we can wear hijab in Turkey. Whoa, amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas,
Yeah.
whereas other
I spoke
people,
to
yeah,
I
yeah, go
spoke
on,
to a couple of brothers that just came back from Afghanistan, funnily enough.
yeah,
They're Afghan anyway, so
yeah,
they kind of wanted to go back home. And they were just telling me how much of a positive experience they had and how surprised they were and how like being on the ground is so much different than seeing, you know, Western
yeah.
media reports and stuff. I mean, even that MP said that, the British MP who went, he was all positive when he came back and then he got cancelled for it. He was like, "Oh, I made a mistake by saying those things." He was like, this MP was like really amazed at the security. And that's what some of the guys were saying. They were like, they were because they'd been before, and then now they're going now. They were like, yeah, there is like no fear of. Doesn't seem to be any fear of like being mugged or being robbed or being whatever on the streets.
Hmm.
Um, I suppose if you've got a big boogeyman that's kicked out America, then you've got you're like who's going to challenge that, right? And lots of other things, lots of other things. Um, but yeah, like you said, expectations before you go somewhere compared to when you're actually there. Um, it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see. It's just balancing it. Did you do a pros and cons list before you went, like a hypothetical one? Obviously, you wouldn't know the
I don't
reality on the
remember doing
ground,
that
but
formally. I don't remember doing that formally. No.
yeah, I've always tried to think about that whenever I've considered a place, thinking, what's the pros of
Yeah.
this specific place versus
Yeah.
the cons, and then making a decision kind of based on that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I know there are pros and cons for everything. It's like what
Exactly.
what battle am I ready to face?
Exactly. This is the thing. It's like
Yeah,
that place I'm going. It would be interesting, you know, if you're gonna move to a place, then you have to say these are the cons. You have to know the cons, or at least when you go and explore, you find out what the cons are, and you're like, yeah, I'm willing to live with these cons. But to go there and not expect to find cons, that's a bit of
yeah,
you know, a recipe for upset.
100%, 100%. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, I'll give you an example. I had somebody recently who was rushed to the hospital to get surgery, and so they're in an emergency and they're rushed to the hospital to get surgery, and the earliest date they can get the surgery is January. It's like
Whoa,
that's a
what
Muslim
country is
country.
that? What
That's a Muslim
country is
country,
that?
and you're going to deal with that if you move to there, possibly, unless you go private, of course. But can you afford to do that? All that kind of stuff.
What country
Um,
is it?
yeah, there's a lot of stuff to take for granted, I suppose. I know that I could go into A&E now here, and yeah, it might be there for 24 hours waiting for to be seen. But 24 hours is better than I don't know, 6 months or whatever. So
Where is that?
you do Tunisia, Tunisia.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's just like those are things you got to think about, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Like I think even I,
But
this is what I was telling you about the pattern of the grass always greener. Like I'm very happy with Turkey, like the current way. Like the current way is the current age of my kids. Like it's great. Okay, alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah, yeah.
But of course, I think of other countries. A few people that I know from here, they moved to Oman recently, and this and that.
Mm.
And I do think like, but again, it's like, what cons are you willing to take? Like, for example, Algeria. Bro, Algeria, the culture is way more Islamic. I've got family there. The language, not only do I know the language, but it's the language of the Quran, etc.
Hmm.
But then, you know, a weird con that you wouldn't really think of, but I have thought of it is my experience anyway. You know, I need to update my firmware a bit on Algeria, but my
Yeah.
experience was that a lot of the guys, like guys that should be at the peak of their ambition and energy, are just a bit deflated and unambitious and a bit like, there's nothing much we can do with our lives. we just, if we can make a living and get married, that would be great. If the, any kind of, and Algeria has a lot of options for business if you really want to work. But
Yeah.
it's all dismissed. It's like, no, that won't work. Oh, the mafia won't let us do that. The government won't let us do that. And so it's like quite a negative thing. So I'm thinking like that would probably impact myself if I was exposed to that. That would impact my kids. So like
Yeah.
that's a bit of a weird con, but like I want to inshallah raise kids that are ambitious and they have a
Well,
lot of hope and
I've always
optimism.
wondered that about you, though.
Hmm.
I've always wondered that. I'm like, because your wife's Algerian as well. You're
Yeah,
Algerian.
yeah,
Citizenship isn't a problem.
no,
They've got internet access,
yeah,
and I don't know from memory, but maybe the pound is still strong there, and is it
very.
the same? Maybe. Yeah, and I'm thinking, what's this guy doing in Turkey? Doesn't even speak the language, you know? Like really, and what you've just said, if that's your con,
That's
you're
one
the
of them.
front row masculinity guy. You
Mm.
go there and you change that for the people. You could benefit those people. I'm not
Yeah,
joking because you can show people in Algeria, those kids or whatever, hey, look, this is what you can do. Why don't I
mm.
teach you guys how to do it? Or digital marketing or social media management, whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Giving them examples of stuff because I know what that looks like. That how many times you put on Tunisian TV channel when they're complaining about kids don't want to do, like kids would rather be unemployed and basically taking pocket money from their parents than doing a hard job like I don't know sweeping the street or whatever, working in the fields or whatever, if it's an agriculture area.
Yeah,
Like they would rather try and escape the country and jump on a boat or whatever, save money for that, than actually do a hard graft
yeah,
and save money to then do something different. Yeah, and I get that. There's an aura of, I don't know, apathy or laziness.
yes,
Um, and that can be shifted if you have someone who's an outsider who's like, yeah, I was raised elsewhere, I've come back and I want to do something
yeah.
about it.
That's
Because,
that's a nice thought, and I could try that, but I'm not gonna rely on that happening because if I don't do that, what's the other way it could go? It could go that now I'm not Mr. Front Row Masculinity. I'm just a loser who
yeah,
does
yeah,
nothing, and then my kids
you're
follow
not going to
me.
be.
You
But
know,
yeah, you're kids. You're not going to be influenced by random people at this age. You're not going
I
to
don't
be
know, bro. I
influenced by their
think
laziness.
I
You
do
lived in the
believe
UK and were
in
surrounded by those kind of people. I think for yourself,
maybe,
you're not
yeah.
going to have the aura of like, oh, what's the next election going to say about me staying here? And do I have to renew my visa? And oh, I haven't learned Turkish yet. My kids haven't learned Turkish yet. And my
Well,
missus
those are
hasn't
all
learned
the
Turkish
pros.
yet.
Yeah, those are all the pros of it. Yeah,
Yeah. But in Zaire, you won't have that problem. Stay as long as you want. The money, the economic situation, I'm assuming, as long as you're earning what you're earning, it's going to be the same. Flexibility is a lot more. And I don't know, man. I like for me, for example, I've always said if I could move anywhere, it would be somewhere I at least speak the language, and maybe Japan as well. No, yeah,
hmm
I'd visit. But yeah,
No, I
some
don't.
people like that.
I don't see that language as a big barrier. Like, um,
Do I
like
see language as a big barrier?
no,
You
I'm
don't
saying
see
I
language
don't.
as a big barrier. Oh, right,
Like,
okay.
it's not intimidating to me. I could learn Turkish in a year, right? I haven't bothered so far, but I could, right?
Yeah,
So I don't see it as intimidating in that sense. My kids,
I,
again, not a
yeah.
problem. Like my friends who moved here the same time as me, their kids already speak Turkish. Because they went to a Turkish school for one year, 2 years. They're done. Halas, they know it, right? Um,
What about
so,
long term? You haven't got roots established in
bro,
terms of like,
there are so many uncertainties and cons, right? There are so many.
yeah.
Um,
Because I feel like right now for you, I mean,
yeah,
you answer this. You tell me. You're living a life that is quite like in the moment, so to speak, right? Uh, but you haven't got the capacity, no fault of your own, you haven't got the capacity to like set something up long term there so that in the future, uh, there's something for your kids in Turkey, for example. I mean, yeah, you could buy property and stuff, but without that citizenship or that ability to like set yourself up in a community for life, I don't know. Because you're just on that dice. The whole citizenship thing is such a
mm,
major, win. Like in Algeria, you could hypothetically set up businesses, buy properties, whatever it is, so that you're not just relying on your one income one day. Your kids can, because let's think of it this way. Right now, Turkey, before you know it, your kids will be old. They're either going to go and work in whatever in Turkey without that citizenship, however that's going to
They
work,
won't have the
without the
right to work.
security,
Hmm.
or they're going to do what you're doing, but once again, like kind of walking on that thin ice of whatever the political landscape looks like. Um, but in Algeria, you've got businesses you can set up, land you can buy, different sort of streams of income you can set up, and no threat of like, all right, you need to get kicked out and whatever. And there's that sense of identity as well. There is something about being part of the people, and you know,
100%.
I mean, it's a very Algerian name.
It is, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure you've thought about it.
No, all those things are
Uh,
true. All those things are true. We'll see, bro, innit? Like I always,
yeah.
I had a good conversation a couple years ago with a friend of mine who also moved to Turkey, and we were just like, like when I think we talked about when our kids are 18 and this and that, and then I think he told me he's like, look, you know how different the world will be when our kids are 18. Like you
Mm,
can't even imagine. There's no point planning for that. Of course, you plan for the things that are constant, like their
yeah.
knowledge of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ and their Deen. And these things are
Yeah.
constant. But like residency rules and you can't plan for this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's no point trying to forecast that far ahead. But what you mentioned is all it's all like legit stuff. But
Yeah.
um,
It's what people chase a lot. Everyone who talks about, let's say Saudi, for example, everyone who wants to move to Saudi is always talking about residency permits and green cards and whatever they're called. Same with UAE.
yeah,
Everybody's talking about it. Everybody who wants to go there, that's one of the top things that they talk about. And it's like, oh, we'll get around this by starting a business and doing this and doing that.
yeah,
It's like, and that's why for me, like, when I thought about it, I was like, well, Tunisia is obviously an obvious example. And the second, I haven't got my Moroccan stuff sorted out, but there is a way of me getting my citizenship and stuff. That's number two for me. And then I thought, I don't really think or want or consider anywhere else in terms of Muslim countries because it's just like an uphill battle that I don't see the point in trying to achieve, you know? Um, but if I could, and if it's straightforward, then maybe, yeah.
maybe
But
it's
when it's
because
not,
this whole residency thing. That's like the
yeah,
story of my life. you know,
maybe.
like when I was growing up in UAE, every year my dad's contract, will it be renewed? Will it not? Right?
I don't
Imagine
understand.
that.
Would kill
That's
me, man.
for 16 years. 16 years like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Of course, everyone lives like that in UAE. That's normal. But
Well, what do you do when it doesn't? Hypothetically, just to pick your brain,
you mean
because I'm
like in
sure other people
Turkey or
think about
UAE?
Turkey. Yeah, right now you just go straight to England.
No, I feel like, by the way, money solves a lot of problems, right? So even
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I, even if I, my thing didn't get renewed in Turkey, I can probably use money to solve that problem if I really wanted to stay here. But you have to, really want to.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But look, bro, I went to the Algerian consulate a few weeks ago to get my file moved here so I can do stuff, get my kids ready and stuff. And my intention is to go over there. As you know, I haven't been for a while. So I
Mm.
want to go over there, bro. Check it out. Um, probably stay a few months, just to really
Yeah,
get a
I was going
feel.
to say,
And
how
I'll
how long
see.
has it been?
It's been pretty much 5 years.
Yeah, bro, I think you doing 3 months there going to be delicious.
Bro, I enjoy it when I
No,
get there, innit? But it's like the real life stuff is where it gets difficult. I have memories
mm.
of my cousin saying, "Do you want to go with me? Just got a little thing to do." I'm like, "All right." It's like 6 hours later, we're like, "Yes, we paid the electricity bill."
Right, so more infrastructure based stuff. Yeah, but then again, bro, like there are not bad places in Algeria to live. I went to the capital and I was driving around, some really nice places. And I'm like, yeah, like even I was looking at Tunisia and some groups in Tunisia looking at rent prices for certain places. And like in Susa, which is a very, very touristic, nice area,
Hmm.
over 790 dinar a month or 700 dinar a month rent. And I was looking at that exchange rate, £200 for like a 3 or 4 bedroom house or whatever. I was like, well, yeah, sweet. And
Bro, money
these
is
are
not the issue
obviously,
because Algeria is like half the cost of Turkey, and Turkey is like half the cost of UK. So,
yeah, and there's people that live nicely in Algeria. Like if you're talking from a dunya perspective,
well,
but
I
even
don't
a
know,
deen
bro.
perspective,
There's a bit of levels to it, Yanni. I think
yeah,
the people in Algeria who have money, they can't even spend money in some things. You struggle to spend money to live a good life because some
yeah, 'cause
things
you
are
can't
just not
find it.
available. Yeah, like I'll tell you a
Mm.
real example. Yeah, if I want to go pretty much anywhere in the world, I take a 30-minute cab. Right, not even a cab. If I want, I can get a chauffeur to pick me up in a Mercedes, and I'll pay him £30 to take me to the airport, which is 30 minutes away, and I'll get a plane to anywhere on earth from that airport. Yeah,
Turkey.
but
All right,
yeah,
yeah,
where I live
yeah.
now, yeah. In where I'm from in Algeria, I would have to drive 2 to 3 hours to Wahran airport. Then I would have to do an internal flight to Alger, most likely, depending where I'm going, and then I can fly to another place, not outside of the
Do
country.
you need to go to where you are? Or can't you just go straight to the capital and live there?
Yeah, so then okay, then I wouldn't be near family, which is one of the benefits. But yeah,
You're near.
maybe
I
that's
suppose.
what I would
How long
do.
is it?
But
Yeah, yeah.
I
Could be
think
nearer
from
than you are
where
now.
I'm from to the capital is like 6 hours drive, maybe.
Ah, that changes things a little bit then.
I'm just
Yeah,
talking. That's just one example of how, when you like, Alhamdulillah, I'm trying to like do stuff with my life, right?
yeah,
And if you can live in a place where the barriers to doing stuff are not big, that's better, rather than getting pulled back by these a lot of the time stupid barriers. That's one of the things I fear.
mm,
But again, I'm very open to it because I haven't been there 5 years, and let's just see, bro. Like I'm open. This I said,
yeah, yeah,
I'm in that grass is greener mindset. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think
Algeria is looking
if you've
nice.
never tried it, if you've never tried it, I think that's what
Yeah,
even for a long term holiday, so to speak,
yeah.
if you can
But
afford it and to do
I
that.
would have to live in one of these kind of different areas. Like it wouldn't be a family vibe because where
Yeah, yeah,
my family's, in a few different cities, but in the smaller cities, that's not going to be my thing, right? Like I'm looking
yeah.
for, I told my dad, because my dad was there recently, I was like, you know what, see if you can find an area, ask around, Yanni, find a neighborhood with these kind of characteristics, like see if you can find, if anyone knows anything like that. He didn't at that time, but maybe there is,
Yeah.
that would be good. That would, actually,
I just,
I want to get Zahid on the podcast, who he's like a sheikh or talib al-ilm who is based in Birmingham. He spent a few years in Algeria. He was studying and teaching actually over there, and he seemed to really enjoy it.
mm,
So, that would be good as well to speak to him.
yeah,
I'm
100%.
open, bro. I'm open. I'm open. Alhamdulillah, that's a blessing. Yani, sometimes again, like I said, we have the negative crowd who are like, "Oh, Turkey, this and the rules are this and this and the prices are going up and that." I'm like, look, Alhamdulillah, if we want, we could move back to UK. We could go UAE. We could go Oman. We could go Malaysia.
Yeah,
We could
yeah,
all these
yeah.
countries. If you got just a bit of money and a British passport, you can move to. Like, alhamdulillah, the options are huge. Meanwhile, like other people's, like I've got my home country, which feels like a jail cell, and then I've
Mm,
got maybe this one country that gave me a 1 year visa that could get cancelled at any time. Like some people are
yeah.
living like that, innit? Some people. My friend told me he came from Egypt. He said he was in the airport and they stopped. They stopped him. They stop people regularly there who are leaving Egypt. Like it's like again, it's like a prison. Like
Mm,
we have to allow you to leave in the first place. So this guy spent his life savings on a ticket and stuff to go to Turkey, and the policeman like stopped him, and then the policeman's like, "How much do you have in your pocket?"
mm.
He's like $500. He's like, oh, he's like, forget it, go home. You're not going to Turkey. He's like, if you had $1,000, maybe I would have let you go.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
guy, he said the guy collapsed because he spent all his life savings on this ticket, and he was being promised by people, yeah, just go Turkey, go to this masjid, and it's all going to get
Mm,
sorted. You know, those kind of dreams people sell.
mm.
And he said he fainted and he just woke up after a while, and he was lost. Anyway, eventually, I can't remember how, but he did get allowed
Oh,
to
I
leave.
wonder.
Someone else, I think, another policeman felt sorry for him or something. He let him go. But I'm sure he's going to be met with disappointment when he actually arrived in Turkey, right? But yeah, this is life for a lot of people. So alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, originally the reason we brought it up wasn't it because of stability and for kids especially. And I
Yeah,
think I'm not saying this just because it's Turkey, but for anywhere in the world that you go to, if you can eliminate that feeling of, I don't know, xenophobia or feeling like an outsider or whatever, I
yeah,
think it does a lot for somebody's confidence. Um,
yeah.
they don't necessarily tend to see themselves as a victim of a
Sure.
societal phenomena.
Yeah,
Um,
that plays with your psychology, you know.
mm.
It's the same as like being a Muslim in the UK or whatever. It messes with your psychology, inferiority complex, this and that. And
Well,
I've seen it,
yeah,
bro. I've
someone,
seen it in
someone,
Turkey.
sorry,
Like,
someone said that to me recently. I bumped into someone at my new job who knew me from my old job. They're like, "Oh, you work here now?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." First thing she asks me, she's, I don't know, Asian lady. She goes, "So, do you think it's less racist here in this job?" I was like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are you automatically victimizing yourself? Like, why? I didn't come in here thinking, oh, I've got a new job because it's less racist, and that's the first thing on my mind. Oh,
mm,
less racist here. Like, that's the first thing we're going to. Like, racism. Have you experienced any racism yet? Like,
mm.
I don't know. I don't really think about it that
Maybe she
much, to
had
be
an
honest.
experience. Yeah.
Huh?
Maybe she had
Because
some
that's the
bad
way.
experiences.
Yeah, but that's the worldview. That's the worldview for a lot of people. Is
Right.
like
Oh, you
that's one
mean
of their
victim mindset? Yeah.
primary.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Like,
It's like let's bond over
yeah.
our victimhood.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. It's like let's bond over the fact that we're both not white, and let's talk about the fact
Okay.
that the only
Yeah.
thing we share is being racialized. No, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm
Mm.
just focusing on making some money.
Although it does, Yanni, it does have an effect, you know. It's like
Yeah, so,
I was talking to my friend as well about this whole idea, and he's like, "Look, you're weird, right? You don't fit into any like big culture. Your
yeah,
kids are like that as well. You're living in a bubble in Turkey. Wherever you live, you're gonna be in a bubble. But a good thing you can do for your kids is, yeah, live in a bubble, but when make it so that when they leave that bubble, they can you reasonably mix with other people and not be so weird, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
the only
100%.
the only place they can do that is Algeria for me, Yanni. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's food for thought.
Even then, they'll be like, "Oh, you're a Milkharij or whatever," and you're
Yeah,
not.
of course, of course.
You're
It's
not
just
fully,
less
but
than
it's
in other
less so.
countries. Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Whatever. I think there's a power in being weird and a being like outside of the mainstream, if you like. There's a power of being weird, and then there's the negatives, you know. So it's like what was it? There was that book. So there's white privilege. Yeah, that was it. Someone wrote a book, Black Privilege. Let me see,
Okay.
Black Privilege, and it was kind of like I think it's around that idea that there's actually a privilege in being like a victim or something. Black
Mm.
privilege, opportunity comes to those who create it. Oh, now it sounds like one of those, you know.
Positive self-help books.
No, I mean, of course it is, but it sounds like those, those people where they're like, yeah, there's no such thing as racism whatsoever, and it's just you don't work hard enough.
Oh, right. Yeah,
The
yeah,
other
yeah, yeah, yeah,
extreme. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But anyway,
That's
it's a
like a can
catchy
of worms.
title. It's a catchy title.
Yeah. Oh, it's not good now, bro.
Let's wrap. Let's wrap it up.
Oh, a mind heist rap. That'd be great.
If someone wants to submit
In
one.
west of Algeria, born and raised. I'm gonna leave it at that. We could get
Okay.
Chat GPT to write one, bro. That'd be funny.
Interesting. Yes. Yes. Have
Write
you
a rap
got Have
about
you got
Algeria
Pro?
in the style of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's the prompt.
Have you got the Pro version?
No, no,
You
I
just got
haven't
the
needed
Pro
to yet.
Twitter.
I really want the pro version. Imagine I pay for the pro version of Midjourney, but ChatGPT, I just didn't bother.
How much is Midjourney? 10 or 20 or?
10 or 30, depending on what you want. I need to downgrade actually because I'm not using it. Well, I am using it pretty much every day, but I could probably lower my use and
Hmm.
save a bit of money. So I should probably do that. I just never get it right. I'm like, oh, refresh, try again, change this, change this, change this, change this. Oh, okay, I like that
It's
one.
nice to have that, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك السلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته
It's,